Will the Philadelphia Phillies finally figure it out? They have lost 4 straight. They were blanked yesterday at home in their midweek series opener against the Miami Marlins. You heard the tss from Donnie Rightside. He is heated. So we asked Jack McMullen to try to figure it out and make sense of it for us. The Phil's close to a $2 favorite at home tonight against Miami. Total is 9, minus 190. That exact money line price as of this moment on FanDuel. Jack, how desperately does Philadelphia just need to win this baseball game against the Fish?
Very. Like I'd say on a 1 through 10 scale, we're looking at an 8 or a 9. Like this feels like if you don't stop it tonight, what are we doing here? It's the Miami Marlins. You just got shut out by the Miami Marlins last go round. Now they send Tyler Phillips to the mound, and Donnie, you can fill in a little bit. I'm sure he was really good until he wasn't. And he was Correct. An awesome story. But again, this guy had an ERA close to 5 at Lehigh Valley. They needed a warm body to make a spot start. It went really well. They gave him another. It went really well. They gave him another. It went really well. And then it didn't. He scares me a little bit. But you know what? Like the guy on Miami side, Edward Cabrera, scares me too because he struggles to find the strike zone in its entirety over the course of some starts. Now, some he'll go, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, and he'll punch out 8, and he'll scatter his 2-3 walks. But, if they're patient, I think that works in their favor. My question tonight on the Phils is, what version of Tyler Phillips do we get? I have no idea.
Yeah, here's the tough part too, Jack. Like they come home from that, road trip, which they were under 500, had a great series against the Dodgers, terrible against Arizona. And Rob Thompson basically said, you know what? Going to be good to get home. Taijuan Walker shows up on the mound and the fans are on edge. What do you need? Just give me a clean top of the first inning to get the good vibes there. He was terrible in the first and the boos were raining down right away. And sometimes you see that cluster and it's not as if you have your stopper, Zach Wheeler, on the mound today. We'll see what Phillips has. Yeah. Let's go to another game, 6:40 p.m. Eastern tonight. Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Guardians. Taillon and Cobb. Favorite here for Cleveland, minus 138 price, playing good baseball. They look like they were free-falling a little bit here, Jack, but a couple straight wins certainly righted that ship. Any thoughts today between Cobb and Taillon with the Cubs and the Guardians?
Yeah, Cubs are playing good ball right now, and it seems like the vibe is really good in Chicago, which is great because it was, kind of in the basement a couple weeks ago. I think even a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, right around the trade deadline. We're like, okay, what are they doing? And the Isaac Paredes deal was totally a shock because we were like, wait, hold on. They're buying? How does this make any sense? And now it's like, oh, okay, they're buying. They're fully in the National League wildcard picture. Taillon has been a steady presence all year. He has been one of the more underrated steady presences in all of baseball on the mound. And what I mean by that is Imanaga was so good, and then he had some blow-up starts. Steele was hurt for a little bit. You had so much volatility on this pitching staff. The bullpen has been a real concern the entirety of the season. One of the steady guys, you mentioned the word stopper with Zach Wheeler. I'm excited that he gets on the hill tomorrow. But Taillon has effectively been the poor man's stopper for the Chicago Cubs. So I like that. Cobb had a really rough go of it, his first outing with Cleveland. So, I guess I lean Chicago here on the road.
Yeah, the Cubs had won 4 straight entering this series. The Guardians looking for a midweek series sweep with a victory today against Chicago. Same story in an AL Central duel between Minnesota and Kansas City. Only a couple of games of day baseball on this Wednesday. This is one in the Twin Cities, where yesterday the Twins got to Seth Lugo in a big way. 13-3 the victory for Minnesota. Lugo, who was so great for most of the year for KC, has now lost 5 of his last 7 starts. Minnesota looking for the series sweep today against Kansas City. A virtual pick'em, Jack. Actually, a little bit of movement. Minnesota now a slight minus 110, favorite minus 106 on the other side for the Royals. Total of 8. Will Minnesota sweep, or will Kansas City avoid the sweep and pick up a victory?
The good news about Kansas City is even when Lugo lays an egg, they can turn to another all-star in Cole Reagans today. And that is very welcomed, especially for this Kansas City Royals lineup that knows they just need to scratch across a couple. Twins are going with a spot start today. I don't know exactly who it's going to be. Give me the all-star over a spot starter. Give me Cole Reagans over whoever the Twins run out to start. But how about Zebby Matthews yesterday making his major league debut? That guy did not walk anybody in the minor leagues. It was 97 innings, 7 walks for Zebby Matthews, and he got up more of the same.
No walks yesterday against Kansas City and a 13-3 win for Minnesota. KC just a 1-game advantage over the Red Sox right now for the final AL wildcard spot. Jack McMullen, we sincerely appreciate this great half hour. Thank you, my friend. Hour number 3 up next on TEF. Again, we are not rooting for injuries. We are not glad to see this news, just rather marveling at the idea that Craig Mish kind of predicted this based on knowing Jazz Chisholm and his injury history in Miami, now in New York. Brian Hoke, who covers the Yankees for MLB.com, sharing out yesterday. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is likely headed to the IL with a left UCL injury. Club is attempting to determine the severity and if surgery will be needed. Of course, Craig yesterday said that when he saw Jazz Chisholm get injured earlier this week, to be a little bit skeptical, despite the fact that Jazz said he would be fine and be back in the lineup the following day. Craig, how did you come to know this? What do you make of the injury situation for Jazz Chisholm with the Yankees?
Yeah, so having like insight or inside information on the injury here is not accurate. That's not something that I had. But, it's funny. I had somebody watching our show yesterday telling me, you nailed it, like spot on. Here we go again. And again, this is no indictment on Jazz whatsoever. But in knowing his track record for being someone who diagnoses his own injuries, he's batting 100 or less. And, that's just a fact. I mean, Jazz has been hurt in the past, a lot of freak injuries, including, by the way, the one that just happened, which is no indictment on him. But what has happened in the past and continues to happen is after the game, Jazz says, I'm good, and I'm going to play tomorrow. And the last few times this has happened, he's been out for the season. And so that's why when I saw this happen last night or 2 nights ago, whenever it was, the text started coming in. Did you see this? Did you see this? I'm like, oh, boy, like, here we go. And again, not rooting for this. In fact, I'm rooting for the opposite for Jazz. I want him to play 157 games this year and hit 40 home runs, which is probably what he would have done. But it just goes to show you that players cannot diagnose their own injuries. They all want to play. He wants to be in the lineup every single day. But the moral of the story is, unfortunately, guys, that this is a player that for another season is looking at a potentially extended absence. We don't know that yet. But if he does need UCL surgery, and we don't know that yet, that is going to cost him this season and maybe somewhat into next season as well. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but maybe just a lesson to be learned. When a player after a game says he's good and he's going to play the next day, you should be skeptical of that.
Absolutely. Specifically with the hamstring injury, Craig, just cramped up a little bit. Yep, seeing about a month and a half on that time stretch. The tough part about that for Jazz Chisholm is if it was for the Marlins, again, we don't want to see injuries. The Marlins aren't making the playoffs. He was going to play a big piece in that New York Yankees lineup, so we'll wait on that final outcome here on that injury. If we are taking a look at the National League, that wild card race is heating up. Why? Because the West just got really good. The Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Braves, if the season ended right now, would be in that wild card race. But my goodness, Craig, the Diamondbacks and the Padres have really hit the gas pedal as of late.
Yeah, the Padres won again last night, and I think that we got to at least mention the fact that San Diego is not a team that goes into the postseason this year if they make it, and you look at 3 or 4 pitchers who can be dominant. Maybe we're changing our opinion of that last night. My gosh, Michael King was just incredible. 6 innings, no walks, 10 strikeouts. Is he going to front this rotation? Is he starter number 1 for the Padres when they go in? Joe Musgrove, what happened to him? Yu Darvish, what happened to him? I mean, it may be King. So that certainly changes the dynamic there. But you're right, Donnie, the Diamondbacks are playing great baseball as well. Everybody can't make the postseason. Someone's going to get left out here. I don't know who it's going to be.
You see the odds very strong in favor of both the Padres and the Diamondbacks, who have been on fire since the All-Star break. They are 4 games up over Atlanta. The Braves have a 2-game lead for that final NL wildcard spot over the Mets as of this moment. Now, not a wildcard race, but a divisional chase in the American League West. The Astros have a 1.5-game lead right now over the Seattle Mariners. Minus 280 is Houston to win the division. Craig, when all is said and done, at the end of 162, who is the American League West champ?
Man, I guess I got to go with Houston after all of that. I think I had them. I think at the beginning of the season, I said, don't write them off. Then I said, yes, let's write them off. Now I'm saying, let's not write them off. So again, I'm not your expert on the Astros this season, but they are going to get Kyle Tucker back. They talk about it every day. Verlander's getting closer to returning. I think Seattle did try. They got a Rosarina. They got some players. I don't think you can indict them for that, but Houston's track record tells you they're there. If Seattle doesn't make it, Ben, for whatever reason, I think there's going to be some serious conversation going on with the Mariners. I don't think that's an acceptable ending to their year if they don't make the postseason.
Let's get to some day baseball live right here on this Wednesday on the early line. We'll go to Minnesota, one of the few day games on this Wednesday. The Twins will host the Royals, Craig. It's a virtual pick'em. If Minnesota wins, it's a sweep over KC. If the Royals win, it could be big for their American League wild card standings. What do you like today in Minnesota, or what the prospect is for both of these teams?
Yeah, just kind of glancing at some of the exotics today, because predicting outcomes of these games is becoming tougher and tougher. Michael Massey, the second baseman of the Royals, has had multiple hits in 2 of his last 3 games. I saw on FanDuel he's plus money there to get 2+ hits. It's plus 250. So let's take that dart, throw it in that direction, and see if we cash it.
Yeah.
Craig Mish, the daily basis, like the days of old, looking at a position player. Come on. Craig, we'll see you tomorrow. More of the early line next. A Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball to break down for you here from the mind of Donnie Rightside. A full Wednesday slate, only 3 games in the afternoon hours. We've got a lot of 4-game sets this week out in the National League. That is included in Milwaukee. The Brewers host the Dodgers. LA, a slight road favorite once again. Total of 9. Walker Buehler and LA minus 118 on the money line. Of course, the Dodgers have taken the opening 2 games of this midweek set. LA has won 8 of its last 10. Do the good times continue for the Dodgers in Wisconsin?
I mean, why not? But it also is tough sometimes with a pitcher coming back off the IL, just showing some numbers here over the last 30 days. Nothing for Walker Buehler on the season itself. 169 batters faced, ISO high, weighted on base percentage high. This should be a chance for Milwaukee to get back into it. But sometimes you are just riding the hot team right now, and that's the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Frankie Montas on the mound, not great against lefties, not great against righties here, going up against a lineup. Hear me out on this. Frankie Montas, a right-handed pitcher. Over the past 30 days, this Dodgers lineup, 1 through 5, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, and Lux. Take a look at these ISO power numbers here. Now, granted, Mookie Betts is just back. He only has 3 at-bats here, but he is at a 1,000 ISO power number because he did hit a home run there against a right-handed pitcher. Look at Ohtani, though, 66 at-bats, 386 ISO. Freddie Freeman, 42 at-bats, 189 ISO. Teoscar Hernandez, 71 at-bats, a 299 ISO. And Gavin Lux, 65 at-bats, 281 ISO. All high weighted on base percentages. They should do damage. You look at that cheap price, and yes, it is a public side on the Dodgers. I understand that. And you're going into and say, well, I don't know I'm going to get out of Walker Buehler, but I don't really care about Walker Buehler. It's what that Dodgers lineup can do to Frankie Montas is what I'd be worried about. I think it's a cheap price, and why not roll with the Dodgers again?
Shohei Ohtani, 2 straight days of a home run against the Brewers. He now has 37 to lead all of the National League. DRS, I was looking this up today, researching some stats to see where Ohtani ranked, to see where Tarek Skubal was in terms of his ERA. And you know what I learned? Ohtani is tied for the second most stolen bases in Major League Baseball. There's a huge gap between Elly De La Cruz, who has the most, 59 for Cincinnati. But Ohtani's tied for second with 33 stolen bags this year. Did you know that?
No, did not know that. And the guy does it all at this point. Imagine next year when we talk about the MVP race, when you're going to say, like, this guy's going to be at ERA of 2.50, stealing bases, hitting 40 bombs, batting 300. And you say, like, how much money can we renegotiate and send his contract higher at this point? He's been you're talking about a guy who's a DH making that big of an impact on your team all the way around. He's phenomenal, man. He really is.
It's minus 1,900 now for Ohtani. It might be minus 1,900 opening day on Ohtani for 2025, knowing he is going to be back on the mound as well. And Mookie Betts has returned and upped his average from a 301 that he had when he was the National League MVP frontrunner to a 308 in 2 games back. But I was told that if a guy won the MVP award, he wouldn't open up as the favorite the next year.
Yeah, I've been told on this network if Ohtani was actually in the American League that he would be so far behind again than Aaron Judge. There's no way that he could win that. So go figure.
Man, a lot of confusing narratives. By the way, Walker Buehler makes his first start since the middle of June, a guy who had basically missed 2 full seasons in MLB after undergoing Tommy John. He made 8 starts from May to June. It was a struggle. He was one of 1-4 with a 5.84 ERA after nearly 2 months on the IL once again. The Dodgers, of course, hoping for greener pastures starting today in Milwaukee. Robbie Ray for San Francisco has only made 4 starts this year, making his debut in late July. Not bad, though. 2-1 with a 3.98 ERA, 2 earned runs or less in 3 of those 4 starts. San Francisco, a home favorite today against Atlanta. Both of the first 2 games of this set have gone to 10 innings. The Braves have won by a single run. Our guy Grant Holmes, though, on the other side for Atlanta against Robbie Ray.
Now, see, we missed it up here. Like, we're told, like, Ray Day. Shouldn't this be Ray Gun? I mean, come on, man. Let's keep in the topics right now, getting popped and fired up. We missed that one here. But if we are taking a look at Robbie Ray, last 60 days, xFIP minus numbers, very good, Ben, at a 91. But how about this? His last 84 batters that he has faced, ISO power number against, 239. Weighted on base percentage against, 335. So not all that fantastic, but he does have high strikeout rates. That's always going to bump up your analytical numbers. But why overcomplicate yourself in this game here today, Ben? If I tell you, we're in San Francisco, the ultimate pitcher's ballpark, 2 lineups that leave a lot to be desired. 2 previous games, hey, they're not scoring that many runs. Are we just going to say we're going to break out and score runs today? No, I don't like the pitchers all that much, but I think those pitchers can handle these lineups in that ballpark. I don't think we get to 8 runs. We're going under today again.
We've gone to extras in both games, and we haven't had more than 7 runs. That includes last night's 4-3 victory for Atlanta. The Diamondbacks looking for yet another sweep, yet another win here as of late, trying to sweep the Rockies. It actually has been close against Colorado. Both of the first 2 games of this set decided by just a lone run. Jake McCarthy, the hero last night in the desert. 2 RBI single to walk it off for the Diamondbacks in the bottom of the 9th. Jordan Montgomery gets the start today against Colorado, minus 190 in favor of the D-backs. Will it be a perfect 3-4-3 for Arizona in the midweek?
This is what makes it tough here. Look at that huge price point. Minus 215. If you want the dog price, it's a plus 180. You look at that Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, it sets up really well against anybody, particularly right-handed pitching. Everybody outside of Kevin Newman, off the charts, ISO, off the charts, weighted on base percentage. But we do know Major League Baseball is fickle. It's about that starting pitcher on the mound. If you're just looking at a pedigree name, who has it? It's going to be Arizona, which is why they're the heavy favorite. But if I told you over the past 60 days, Tanner Gordon has a 94 xFIP minus, but a 6.15 ERA. Why? Once again, the ERA minus takes you to the league average and makes sure that all pitchers are equal depending on what ballparks they're pitching in, which is why Gordon has that elevated number. If you flip it over, take a look at Jordan Montgomery. Out of 25 pitchers today on my card, he's actually number 22, a 122 xFIP minus, and also an ERA of 6. So if you're getting a little frisky out there and you want to take an underdog because you feel you might have the better pitcher on the bad team, that's the Colorado Rockies in this game. I say this because, well, Don, you can't do that. Arizona's red hot. Like, why would you go against a bad team against Colorado? Just a few days ago, we had a minus 340 price on Luis Gil of the New York Yankees. And we told you also, he probably wasn't the better pitcher in that game, and he wasn't, and they got bombed. Are we saying Colorado's going to win by 10 runs today? No. But I do think they might be sneaky today. Now, you cut and clip it, and the final score 7-1. Colorado got wasted. That's what you get. But I'm just trying to present some facts here where sometimes you just look at the teams and say, should be a blowout victory. That's why that line is so high. And say, wait a second. Maybe you should just take a total or look to the dog here.
Yeah, completely agree. When you look at Arizona, though, 5 straight wins, 9 wins in their last 10 games, 13 wins in their last 15. San Diego, like Donnie mentioned, 2 straight victories for the Padres, also 9 wins in their last 10 games. It's crazy to see what these 2 teams are doing, running away with the top spots in the National League wildcard race. and giving the Dodgers some chase in the National League West. LA has to keep winning, still have a 3.5 game advantage. Can the Reds or the Red Birds, that being the Cardinals, try to keep pace around the National League wild card? It's going to be difficult, but the Cardinals a minus 118 favorite today in the Great American Ballpark against Cincinnati. Total of 9.5. What do you like in Cincy?
I think they should be favored in this game. You take a look at Kyle Gibson, decent over the past 60 days, Ben. A 95 xFIP minus an ERA, 4.35. It's a little bit higher, but his xFIP number, not his xFIP minus, 3.89, very manageable. You get a decent Cincinnati lineup in there, no question. But also, you're looking at the pitchers here, right? Emilio Pagan's going to be on the mound on the season. 90 batters he's faced. He's a right-handed pitcher. Lefties have really gotten the best of him, but we don't have many at-bats over the past month for him. So if you just look at the roll of the dice and say you just don't like the Cardinals, okay, I understand it. But theoretically, for me, the better pitcher on the mound will be from the Cardinals' perspective, and I'll go that route. Slight favorites here. I agree with that.
Yeah, the Reds looking for the sweep over St. Louis since he has won 3 straight dating back to their weekend set. The Cardinals have lost the first 2 here, also lost their finale over the weekend. 3 straight losses for St. Louis. So at the moment, the Cardinals 3.5 games back of Atlanta for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. The Reds 4.5 games out of that wildcard chase at the moment. Cincinnati has won 6 of its last 9. St. Louis has lost 8 of its last 12. Not where you want to be at this moment. More around MLB comes your way next. Cleveland looking for a series sweep at home over the Chicago Cubs. The Guardians and the Cubbies in the 3rd and final game of their set. When you look at the numbers for today, Cleveland a minus 142, money line, favorite line working in their favor. 8.5 is that total. Will it be a perfect 3 for 3 for the Guardians, or can the Cubs scratch out a victory in the land?
Yeah, it might be a toss-up here at this point. You got Jameson Taillon on the mound. You're going to take on Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb's only had 21 batters that he's faced, so not a large sample size to try to dip into. But if we are looking at the opposite side with Jameson Taillon, I think we might have some opportunities for some RBI chances for the Cleveland Guardians. If we're looking at Taillon's numbers over the past 60 days, they're not bad, Ben. 96 xFIP minus, right around average, ERA under 4, decent xFIP and Sierra numbers. But in the middle of that lineup, Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, both batting from the left-hand side. Why is that the problem against Taillon? His last 46 batters he's faced from the left side. How about this? An ISO of 333 and a weighted on-base percentage of 438 against. Ramirez and Naylor in the middle of that lineup, a toss-up game. I think at least one of those 2 guys can get an RBI, which will put you into the plus money.
It's a good look. Another RBI prop, perhaps. John Kenzie Noel, plus 170. 2 home runs, 4 ribbies in the opener against the Cubs. A home run last night. That was the game-winning run for Cleveland. The Guardians have now won a couple of games in a row. 3.5 game advantage over Minnesota for that number 1 spot in the American League Central. The Guardians at 71 and 49. Best record in the AL, tied with the Dodgers for the best record around MLB. Speaking of the Twins and the Royals, one of the few day baseball games that we have on the card on this Wednesday. It is a slight pick'em, or a virtual pick'em, probably better said, today in case, oh, wow, now we're actually moving back. It's in Minnesota. It was minus 110 for the Twins when we asked about this game with Craig Mish. It was minus 112 on our graphic earlier in the day. Now it has swung back to KC at minus 112, maybe because of Craig Mish's pick for the day, Michael Massey, a couple of base knocks for KC.
I think it's actually a good look by him, too, because if you look at Louis Varland on the mound, not a great pitcher, 148 batters he's faced on the season. You know what he has problems with, Ben? Left-handed batters. So if you key on some of those and say, all right, if the wind is blowing in, though, from right field at double digits, that doesn't help left-handed batters. You're basically looking to pull home runs, and that might be a little bit of a hindrance. But there still is close to 80-degree temperatures today in Minneapolis. But if we are looking at Massey against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days, 68 bats he's had, Ben, a 200 ISO. You'll live with that. You take a look at Vinny Pasquantino, 75 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month, a 214 ISO power number. And MJ Melendez here, another left-handed batter with 34 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month, a 267 ISO power number. So for me, it's hard to trust some of these guys, which it's not a cop-out because you're going to get plus money on any RBI props you have. And as I said, left-handed batters might struggle a little bit with that wind blowing in from right field, but those 3 guys got some really good numbers against right-handed pitching, and a right-handed pitcher, Louis Varland, struggling with lefties. That's the side that makes the most sense to me. Forget about the side in the total. One of those 2 guys, or even 3 of them, can get RBI chances here for the Kansas City Royals.
KC's all-star Cole Reagans will be on the bump. Seth Lugo, also an all-star, but struggling as of late. He's lost 5 of 7, got the loss yesterday, got hammered by Minnesota in the 13-3 win for the Twins. Cole Reagans, on the other hand, has won 4 of his last 5 starts. KC a game up on Boston for the final American League wildcard spot. Minnesota in that second spot, looking up at the New York Yankees. And again, Cleveland a 3.5 game lead in the American League Central. The Houston Astros, winners of 7 in a row, looking for a sweep against the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe not a sweep. This might be just the second. Anyway, looking for an 8th straight victory for the Stros in Tampa at the Trop. Houston minus 126 on the money line. The over-under is 8. Will Houston make it 8 straight?
8 in a row. They're going to get it done today. Take a look at Littell on the mound. Average pitcher at best. Last 94 batters that he's faced, a 193 ISO power number against and a weighted on base percentage of 344. Not a huge strikeout guy, but if you're taking a look at that Houston Astros lineup starting to come to life, who would think in a lineup like, you know what? We don't want to go with Jose Altuve. He actually doesn't have very good numbers against right-handed pitching over the past month, but you know who does? That's Bregman. That's Alvarez. That's Diaz. That's Singleton in that lineup. Sometimes you just got to ride that hot team, and that's the Houston Astros right now. I think the pitching matchup is basically going to be a wash, but the Houston Astros playing much better baseball right now than the Rays. I'll go with the Astros winning their 8th straight game and taking care of business down at the Trop.
8 in a row would, in fact, be a midweek series sweep over the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah. Ben, just trust your gut. Plus 560. That's the home run prop price for Alex Bregman, who has hit a home run in 4 consecutive games, of course, including the first 2 here at the Trop for Houston. The Astros have a 1.5 game lead in the American League West, minus 280 now, a stronghold at least from the odds makers position to win the division. What does Seattle have to say about that? The Mariners got lambasted yesterday, 15-1 in the Motor City. Tarek Skubal getting the better of Seattle and George Kirby for a second consecutive start. On the side today for Seattle, though, they are the favorites, minus 144 in the Motor City to bounce back from yesterday's defeat. Total at 8. Will Seattle do that? Will Seattle bounce back with a win today over the Tigers?
I believe they will do that today, and sometimes you don't want to step on that mound and say to yourself, oh boy, they just scored 15 runs against the previous pitcher, who was a very good pitcher yesterday, and now me having to shut it down. But I think that's going to happen. Brian Wu-Tang, as they like to say out there for the Seattle Mariners on the mound today. Look at his numbers, Ben. 260 batters faced on the season, an 088 ISO power number, and a weighted on base percentage of 235. If you just take a look at the last 30 days, which included 90 batters, 091 ISO with a weighted on base percentage of 228. He's been really good. I think the Mariners bounce back in a big way today and pick up the victory. Bresky, not really a great pitcher on the mound. I do think the M's bounce back and pick the W up after getting embarrassed yesterday.
The Mariners did sweep the Mets over the weekend, also won their final midweek game last week. They were on a 4-game win streak entering yesterday's matchup against Tarek Skubal and the Tigers. That, of course, coming to an end. Trying to force a rubber match game on Thursday, some day baseball in Detroit.